I think Rubio gets a lot is smarter in terms of geopolitical as well. He knows how the world works. So um, I think that will be very good for him in 2028. And he's also very good domestically as well. He's very popular domestically. So, um, but I would rather vote for Rubio than I would for Vance in 2028. In terms of Trump, he's still done well in terms of Iran, but I can't judge Rubio on that because I'm not sure. I haven't heard much from him. He's been very quiet. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, but
All right.
if you had to choose between President Trump or President Rubio, which one would you rather have?
I think I would have a President Rubio.
Okay.
Okay, Monkey is next.
Yeah, I think he was necessary for the time when he came. He was like a bull in a china shop. You had to like break these taboos, break the taboos about how we respect the media. Like some things had to be called out, and he was the one calling them out. That doesn't mean the future has to stay like that. I think he was a necessary step, right? I don't think I also know that he's a showman. And you know what the thing about shows, a show you love, other people might hate and they can't get past this character, right? So I think there's a little bit of that in it too, where Rubio, he's no nonsense, but he's talking to you more like a 5 o'clock news kind of tone and rhetoric, and he's not going to let the bullshit slide, but he's very direct and very much not trying to do a show. So I think it's the showman aspects. And yes, this guy's a businessman, but he was in entertainment. He was in the WWE. He was out there with the wrestlers and he was making shows. He knows how to sell a performance that you hate him or love him. You're fired. Like some people, like the part of the aspects that they liked about the show was watching how mean he was or how he treated people like not great. Sometimes you got to fire bad people. Like these are concepts about him, about his personality that, people used to love as a show, just as a showman, understanding that this guy is a showman. Some people hate that show or hate that show when it's not playing because a lot of people, they loved him when he was a Democrat. Trump was a Democrat most of his life. Whoopi Goldberg loved him. Oprah Winfrey loved him. They all loved him until he changed. He kind of like said, look, I can't go with you guys on this. But he was a showman. And when that show is going against what you want, and it's kind of a show, and you're like noticing, oh my God, this is attention grabbing, and it grabs for the attention for something I hate. I think there's a visceral reaction to it that is not logic based. It's that showman thing. We can move on without the showman aspect, but I think he was necessary for his time. Like right now, let's say Trump was on the ticket again. Ooh, that's tough, but I might pick Rubio. I'd want Trump in the cabinet somewhere. But like, again, I think another aspect of this is how many people that have TDS but are kind of on the center, like we spoke of Sam Harris, would go for a Rubio. Like how many swing voters that would just not vote would go for Rubio? Like if this works out, if Trump turns out to have been moved over to the window so much that it just makes things a whole lot easier for Rubio, that's a good thing, right? If it goes so far that the left is basically impossible for a lot of people, but Rubio is a relief, then I think it's a good thing that he did what he did, but I think Rubio is gonna be such a relief, and it's gonna be hard to fight him. I don't think Vance has a chance against him.
I agree. Completely agree. I think Rubio. I think Rubio has certain strengths that Trump doesn't have. Just in terms of the near, like I said, I agree that Trump was also necessary for basically we need somebody to go in and break stuff. like you said, a bull in the china shop. I think that was necessary, and I don't think that was Rubio's in his forte. We needed someone like Trump to do this, and there are certain potential strengths he has over Rubio. I mean, Rubio used to at least be he used to be much more of an open borders guy, or at least spoke like that. I think he's changed in that respect. I think he's gotten a lot better than that on that. But he had to get his ass beat by Trump 10 years ago, and I think he's become a different politician in a lot of ways. And I think Trump, in his own way, has aided in that. Pulling the party in a different direction than it was before. And I think Rubio has adjusted, or maybe he was always more conservative on this. I don't know, but he definitely sounds better on that topic, and he's been more. He spoke to the Europeans, and just like Vance did, and said you got problems with mass migration. You got to take care of it, because Western civilization is too precious to lose, which I also liked. But unlike Vance, he's not an ISO cuck. He actually understands that American power is a good thing. Unlike Vance, who believes in this multipolarity bullshit, Alexander Dugin type bullshit, which I fucking despise. So yeah, I agree with Sketch on the essence of that.
Thank you, Deja. I have two from Jeffrey next.
Yeah, I'm pretty much where everybody's at. I mean, I am a senator. I'm very much a Rubio Republican that President Trump won over. And that was because, much like how the sentiments that people have shared here, President Trump's approach was needed to get there and crash through all the barriers and that deterred other people. I mean, his very much New York barroom brawler approach. You might say President Trump is the General Patton of politics, right? General Patton, very much barroom brawler, right? Get right up into you. So I'll give you an example. Neocons like me, and actually knew people in U.S. Space Command when it was still a joint tour organization in the late 90s. We very much pushed, me and other guys, for Space Command to become its own force, because it was a joint tour organization. Like different militaries would send their officers there, and they would, like, for one enlistment, and it would they would tell their officers, look, you're coming back to your home service, so push for your services interests, right, when it comes to inter-service parochial infighting and budgetary shit. And so that very much undermined the efficacy of U.S. Space Command before it became its own indigenous force. So me and a lot of other guys, there was a guy who was at U.S. Space Command during the later 90s, during the heady days of Vision 2020, which I can't believe is 6 years ago, where it projected, right? Major Oots was a really cool guy from the Marine Corps. So, we laid a lot of the groundwork. That said, President Trump was able to do in 18 months, more in 18 months than we could do in 30 years. So there's something to be said about that. Like, did we lay the groundwork? Yeah. Did he still do more in 18 months than we did in 30 years? Yes. Does that in some ways, it dings your ego a little? Sure. I'm glad he did it. Think of the mess that we're facing right now. I mean, Rubio is definitely, he has a more, almost like an academic understanding, deep academic understanding of like all the nuances that define geopolitics, geostrategy. He's probably one of the most, he is one of the most brilliant people in the U.S. government. I went to school with his chief foreign policy advisor. He's a really cool guy. Rubio is solid and decent. Prescient. President Trump is the president we needed for the time that we are in. Rubio is very much someone who then is good to manage after you had to break down you have to break into the, to the gates of Mordor, That's President Trump. That's his job. And he's like, how many other presidents do you think could have crashed through the barriers that deterred everybody else and still get all the stuff done? My God, look what they fucking did to this guy, right? They impeached him a bazillion times. They fucking hit him with 37 bullshit felonies that were double jeopardy. They fucking shot him twice. Like, I mean, my God, most people like in the media or in DC flip out and think it's the fucking Holocaust if they screwed up their pumpkin spice latte. Are you shitting me or what? So it's not, they're not, one is not better than the other. They're very much complementary to one another, much like how you use different metals to make a very good sword, right? You use hard metal because it keeps an edge. That said, hard stuff can be brittle. You need flexible metal so your shit doesn't shatter. Well, if it's always flexible and it's not very hard, then it doesn't, it bends and you can't use it. Right. So, yeah, I mean, they very much complement one another. And their specialization, the nature that defines the the nuance to define the special nature of each one of them, President Trump and hopefully then Senator Senator now Secretary of State and all the other hats he wears, hopefully President Rubio, are specialized for the environment or time that and challenges they face. So yeah, I very much mirror everybody's observation. This isn't an either or. We needed President Trump. I mean, and I'm a Rubio Republican saying that. Yeah, I mean, who else could have done this? Who else would have yanked Maduro out of Venezuela? Who else? What other president bombed 13,000 targets when the approach wasn't as easy, say, under Obama? Nobody else would have done that. He was right when he said nobody else could do the crazy shit I'm doing. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. None. I got a lot of respect. I mean, like, President Trump won me over with his policies, even though he would say stuff in his first term that would drive me up the fucking wall. Right, it did. Until I started to understand why he said it. Right, he said things the way people felt in the manner that they felt them. It was sincere and authentic. That's why Trump supporters would go to storm the gates of hell for him. I know them. And they're not wrong because they believe him. And why wouldn't they? What happened after Butler? Like after Butler, I got no doubt, zero, that President Trump deeply loves this country. Deeply. I had a friggin' bullet crease his head, and he sat there and went out of his way to tell everybody else to feel okay. Holy shit. Like, that's amazing.
Wrap it up, Jeffrey. Let's go on.
Yeah. So all that to say, they're specialized for their environment. They're specialized people that have their own restraints that complement the other. I think it went right in the right sequence. President Trump was there to bust things up, and Rubio will be there to sit there and capitalize on the gains that he made.
Okay, Jose is next.
I'm going to start with the truth. When Rubio first ran for president, it was the same year that Trump ran for president. I've told many of you the story of how I had to talk my nephews into dumping Bernie Sanders and looking elsewhere. Well, Rubio had a problem. He sounded more like the Democrats at that time, than he did a Republican. So I did not vote for him. No one I think only my sister voted for him because he was Cuban. Okay, she's since admitted that was not a very smart move on her part. Okay, you don't vote for someone just because they share the same ethnic background as you do. You vote for someone that's going to do the job you want done. Yes, Rubio did want quote unquote open borders, but he was fighting to get back something that Obama took away, which is the wet foot, dry foot for Cubans coming across the strait, taking a chance on the strait, coming across and stepping on dry land, they would automatically be given asylum. That was taken away under Obama. Okay. That's what he was fighting for. And in order to fight for it, he had to fight for everybody at the time. He'll ever admit that? I don't know. Yes, I agree with Jeffrey, with Dejal, with Sketch that Trump is a president for now, because I know that the people in Venezuela, in the rest of South America, are looking at Trump, not Rubio. Rubio is just a mouthpiece that makes it easy for them to understand. But it's Trump's actions that they're looking at. Okay? So, fine. Will I support Rubio if he runs for 2028? Better, hell yeah, more than I will Vance. You know, Vance was a bridge to get other candidates in the Republican Party to vote for Trump. That's all he was. And he's definitely shown it. That's all I got, guys.
Thank you, Jose. Now, Samantha. Samantha, do you have microphone? What's going on?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, if the choice is between Marco Rubio or Trump, I definitely choose Marco Rubio. But yeah, at the risk of setting the chat on fire, I think if you don't believe that every U.S. citizen deserves to have access to food, you have absolutely no business whatsoever calling yourself a U.S. patriot. You don't. You know, every U.S. citizen deserves access to food, and millions of U.S. citizens lost access to food because of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and Marco Rubio was a supporter of it, so I don't consider Marco Rubio a U.S. patriot.
Wait,
Okay.
how did it?
Jeffrey.
How did one big beautiful bill? How did that take people's access to food away from them? Samantha, how did that? How did it? How did it one? Can you tell us how did it take people's food away from them?
It took away it took away food benefits to people who didn't meet like certain requirements. Like it raised the age on, I think retirement was one of the issues, and I think it like mandated that you had to have like, you know, a certain number of like work hours a week or month. Like I think you had to show that you at least like have a part-time job or something to get food benefits in some cases. So
And
yeah.
okay, and those people have income?
Well, that's the thing. To
Are they
get
are they
the food
starving? Are they
benefits.
starving? Are they starving to death right now because of those benefits being taken?
Yes, people in the US are starving to death right now because of the actions of Marco Rubio.
I don't think anybody in the US is starving to death. I don't think people are starving to death in the United States. To me it sounds, I might be wrong. We'll look into this. To me it sounds like people were taking advantage of the system, and people were getting food. People who didn't need food benefits were getting food benefits, and this sounds like a proper adjustment, but maybe I could do more research on that. Well, I'll let other people respond while I'll research this.
I would imagine that if anyone in the US starved to death, that would be news, no?
Yeah, that would be
Okay,
that
let
would be
me close
headline
it
news
up.
everywhere. That would be headline news everywhere. Nobody's starving to death in the United States.
Let
I
me
mean,
go to the
maybe like anecdotal evidence of somebody, I don't know, being stuck somewhere and starving to death. I'm just saying it's not like happening in a people are not starving in the United States. There's like like it's not a thing. If you think that people are starving to death in United States from poverty, then you have a really bad understanding of everything. Like you are so clueless regarding the realities on the
I know.
basis.
I personally sat with and talked with people who have ended up in the hospital because they literally did not have access to food and were starving.
Oh, wait, so were these like drug addicts that couldn't get food, or like these people with mental handicaps? Like how? Like what was happening? They were brought to the hospital and they were fed.
In some cases, yes, but like I also do know I don't I mean, I don't personally know anyone who's starved to death, but I do know like I've spoken with people who have met spoken with people who've starved to death, and I personally,
You've
spoken with
spoken
people
to
who
people who
have
have
ended up in
starved to.
hospital because of
How did you speak to people who starved to death? Like after? Like I don't
I
know.
used to hang out with homeless people.
Okay, homeless people in the United States are not starving to death, so I don't know what you're talking about. But I'll look into this.
A
But
lot of them are.
okay, I'll look into the data.
Jeffrey wants to address this. Go ahead.
So there's a couple of this is a couple of misconceptions from both sides of the aisle trying to attack then Senator Rubio and now Secretary of State Rubio. With regards to, I'll deal with each in turn. Senator Rubio did not push for illegal immigration or amnesty. His involvement in S744, the Border Security, Economic Opportunity, and Immigration Modernization Act of 2013, often called the Gang of Eight bill, he was the one that put in a lot of requirements for people to have a path to citizenship. He does not pro illegal immigration or amnesty. It required them to register professional immigrant status. They had to pay a fine. They had to sit there and pay 10 years of back taxes. There was all this stuff that he added. He didn't advocate for it. He said, if you're going to do this, these you had to show, you had to work, you had to pay taxes, you had to have an ID, you had to leave and then come back legally, all this stuff, right? The people who pushed Senator Rubio pushed for amnesty was Hillary Clinton, Ron Paul, and to a lesser degree, it was, who's the one that looks like a pedophilic vampire? As Republican, I wanted him for the Supreme Court. Anyway, it'll come to me. They were all doing that to undermine Rubio because he was getting ready to make a run for the GOP nomination. As far as the idea of now Secretary of State Rubio having involvement in starving people to death, what that's misreferencing is the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or HR 1 Public Law 19-21, where it actually now Secretary of State Rubio, and he has a long history of supporting this, wants expanded work requirements for able-bodied adults without dependents, read not children, not elderly, not disabled people, that have a previous 3-month in 3-year limit now applies to a broader group. In other words, you have to show that you're looking for work, right? If you're an able-bodied adult, you need to show that you're looking for work. He made some changes to the benefit calculations and eligibility that reduced some of those things for non-citizens. He very much tightened eligibility rules for people who are illegal immigrants or undocumented workers. Those are both real terms. Illegal immigrants are people who entered the United States illegally and are here illegally, and undocumented, residents are people who entered legally, yet their fucking legal residency ran out. It's about 60% illegal immigrants, 40% undocumented residents. And either one of them, there's tightened eligibility where they can get access to food aid. He wants that to go to people. And he shifted some of the cost administrative burdens to states. He didn't cut funding to people. There's still tons of exemptions with people with disabilities, parents of young children, pregnant women, or those in short-term hardships. So the idea that somehow Senator or Secretary of State Rubio and his support of the One Big Beautiful Bill, and particularly his involvement in it, somehow starves people to death is an absolute, utter misrepresentation and outright lie. It's not true. And it's pushed by people on the left to attack both now Secretary of State Rubio and this administration. Tragically, then Senator and now Secretary of State Rubio, because of his decency, has gotten attacked by fucking all sides because they all try to misrepresent shit that he's done.
Okay, thank you. Monkey?
Yes, I was going to say that a lot of people, the second you stop fraud, they say people are starving, people are dying. There's a lot of fraud that was committed in Minnesota. And this also went into the Leering Center. It went into food delivery. It went into people that were, it had a lot to do with the SNAP benefits. It had a lot to do with stores that were doing fraud. Like, you need to do the basic paperwork to get an EBT card. It doesn't just magically fall out of the sky. Like, if you're not getting an EBT, that's one of the easiest things to get. No one stopped EBT. EBT still works. Now, maybe, I don't know, a homeless guy told me he was dying of hunger and asked me for $5. You know what? Maybe he's not being truthful. Just saying, putting it out there, right? But it is one of the easiest things to get in America. I challenge you to find a country where it's easier, right? Maybe UK. They're just giving them out too, right? But people are not dying of hunger in America. I despise anecdotal evidence. It may be valid to some people not. I despise it. If you look at the reality of what's going on here, is they're cutting a lot of fraud. And a lot of those fraudsters were taking their fraud money and their fraud businesses and donating it to ActBlue so ActBlue could give it to Democrats. Oh, we got lax regulation on fraud. Well, let's keep it that way. Let's take that money, give it to ActBlue, and have ActBlue vote in people that like lax regulation on government funds so I can have more fraud. The problem here is that the second that you stop someone from committing fraud, they start screaming, people are dying of hunger. People don't have access to medicine. No, these are lies. These are absolute and total lies by people who live in an echo chamber and try to speak to you with authority. I know for certain. I know that this happened. I know that this happened. I know a guy who knows a guy. Oh, so you didn't check outside your echo chamber. We check outside the echo chamber. We listen to what the left is saying. Sometimes 1 in 100, like a broken clock, maybe right twice a day. But the rest of the time it's wrong. We check. We look. The people who are in an echo chamber are a problem, and you got to get out of your echo chamber. My buddy in my echo chamber told me is not an authoritative source. You have Google, you have ChatGPT, you can check these things.
All right. Thank you, Monkey. Let's go to Noah.
So I volunteer at a local food pantry. Jeffrey nailed what the food stamp requirements are. People with disabilities are not getting their benefits cut. The so the able-bodied work requirements, I can expand on that a little bit. It's 80 hours a month if you're working, volunteering, or going to school, which is pretty easy to hit. And by going to school, I mean getting your GED or college. So now, when there was that government shutdown that affected food stamps last year, that hit us pretty hard and we got slammed. When food stamps do get cut, it does make people hungry, but that's not what is happening right now. Now, when they were able to refund it, it did, like, our numbers went back down. But I'm sorry, Samantha, you're wrong on this.
Thank you, Noah. And Halda?
I'm not hearing Hulda. Are you guys hearing Hulda?
I heard her.
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know about this particular situation, but I can tell you that I've worked in situations with the homeless, and I've been around homeless probably for 20 years, if not more. And there are many instances of homeless people starving to death, freezing to death, dying of heat stroke, etc. in America. I know it's not necessarily advertised that much. There for quite a long time, we had a huge problem with people being turned out, from like mental institutions, etc. And California is the one that actually started that whole mess, and it spread everywhere. And we also had, and I think we still do have laws on the books that disallow us from hiring homeless people. If you do not have a permanent address, you cannot be hired for a job in the United States. And not every hospital will accept people that do not have insurance, and there's not always food banks everywhere. I mean, like where I live right now, we have a homeless population and we have no resources for them. None. So it's a do or die. Anyway, I just wanted to, throw that in there. That's it.
Thank you. And Armin?
All right, so here's what I've learned by just doing a bit of research. So people are saying this whole SNAP thing, SNAP, it's the people who are adjusting it. They're saying, like, look at the name. The stands for supplemental nutrition assistant. It was never meant to cover 100% of households' food needs. So they're going back to what the plan was originally about. And they also are pointing out that this is not the only safety net for food out there. There are many other ones out there. And this is now turning into something that originally wasn't supposed to be. And there are other food programs who are fully funded that other people can rely on, like WIC, free school breakfast and lunch programs, and also summer EBT. And also, they're saying that this adjustments come with exemptions for people who are unable to work. So those at the highest risk, such as the severely disabled, seniors over 65, and parents caring for children under 14, are exempt from the strict work requirements and keep their benefits. So they mentioned that. And they're basically the let me see. So they're saying that this is not going to cause mass starvation. This is fear mongering, arguing that states, local charities, and food banks have the resources to prevent people from falling through the cracks. And also, I looked at the starvation. Yeah, like there's no famine style starvation in the United States. All of these different programs do cover that. When we do get deaths from malnutrition, it's mostly because of old age. Like, it's not that people are starving to death. We do have death from people who are old age, and the malnutrition might cause death, or severe mental illness like anorexia or dementia. Like, people do starve to death because of dementia or stuff like that, or disease that prevent nutrition absorption. And poverty in the United States does cause bad health, but there's no immediate like starvation. It's not that level in the United States. So poverty causes people in the United States to rely on cheap, low nutrient foods, and this could be fatal. Causes long-term chronic illnesses. This is how poverty causes death in more advanced countries. Poverty that causes people from dying, it causes people to die from severe starvation. That happens in poorer countries. We don't have that in the United States. All right.
Okay, let's go to super chats if they exist.
Okay, so we have 3 super chats. Jail straws Straws. I don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry. Saying thank you for the super chat. Saying just to be first, LOL. Rubio 2028. Oh, thank you for the super chat. How do you pronounce your name? I'm just gonna call you Jails. Yeah. Thank you for the super chat. Amir gave us a link which I can't click on, but it's saying His Royal Highness is live in Persian interview with no subtitles. Oh, okay. So Amir, thank you for telling me that. I'm gonna look out for that. Probably by tomorrow, we're gonna have videos coming out with English subtitles. So thank you, Amir. Thank you for telling me that. I'm gonna look out for it. And thank you for always keeping an eye on stuff like that. And Justin with a super chat saying there's talk that the 22nd Amendment might legitimately get challenged in the next year or so. Not count Trump out of okay, so do not count Trump out of the third term just yet. I think that's very unlikely. Am I wrong about that? I think that's very, very unlikely. What do you guys think? Do people here in the group, do you think that there's a chance of that happening? Very unlikely. Okay. Monkey agrees it's very unlikely. But okay. But anything is possible. It just seems hell no. Yeah, very unlikely.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.